One of the most common questions which people ask me is about my transition from being an Indian Air Force pilot to being a fitness entrepreneur. Now, these two career choices are ideally totally poles apart. But the answer to this lies in my life's journey itself. Sports and fitness is something which I inherited. I belong to a family of sportsmen, my mother being a former national award winning athlete, my grandfather was a wrestler. So, from the very beginning, I was quite an active kid. But believe me, back in the late 80s and 90s, being good in sports or being very active wasn't considered a virtue. Your standing in the society was totally dependent on how much marks you scored, irrespective of whatever talent you had. And believe me, I was a top backbencher. Though I hated academics, I never scored some very good marks in the school, but there was one thing which I loved and which very few people knew about, and that was my love for books. I loved reading. I was a voracious reader. And it was this love for reading books and sports that helped me in clearing one of the toughest exams at that level, that of the prestigious National Defense Academy. And when I entered NDA, my complete perspective towards life changed. Back then, when my friends in India or abroad were enjoying their college life, we were undergoing one of the toughest military training at that young age. Post National Defense Academy, I went to the Air Force Academy where I started my flying training and was commissioned in the Indian Air Force as a pilot. I chose the transport stream, and I remember my first posting was in the beautiful city of Baroda. I was quite regular with my workouts and was able to balance my workouts with my flying. Though it was not easy, because I was quite passionate about my exercising and workouts, I used to carry a gym bag even in my aircraft. So if I used to fly to a particular station, I used to carry that gym bag with me, and the moment I used to land, I used to change my overalls if I had time in between, rush to the nearest gym, mostly in cases it was a station gym, do the workout, come back, change the overall and back to flying. This was quite regular in my life till one day when I was working out in one of the gyms in the cities in Baroda, when a group of trainers approached me who have been observing me from couple of days. They asked me that why don't you compete in the bodybuilding competition? I told them, look, I like bodybuilding, but I haven't thought of doing a competition or something. But they were quite adamant and they said, look, sir, you have a very good base physique. Why don't you give it a try and we will help you in preparing. So next 8 to 10 months, I was preparing for the bodybuilding competition along with my flying. And the best part was that when I participated in my first district competition, that was Mr. Baroda, I won a gold medal. Soon the Indian Air Force bodybuilding team took notice and they invited me to be a part of the team. And thereafter there was no looking back. Over the next couple of years, I was continuously practicing and competing in multiple competitions at district, state, services, command or national level. But the best part about this entire journey was that I got to train under some of the finest coaches, be it in track and field athletics when I was in school, under the finest ustads and sabs during the military training part, and thereafter in bodybuilding. But all this while, one thing bothered me a lot, and that was the theoretical part of it, the why behind things, the how behind things, the what behind things. Back in the days, if you wanted to gain some knowledge about fitness and nutrition, our major source of information were those old muscle magazines, in which almost 80% of the magazines used to be advertisement and 20% used to be mostly pseudoscientific information. And this was when I planned to do international courses and I started focusing on the study of exercise science, nutrition, supplementation, strength and conditioning, biomechanics, kinesiology, and many more. But even after doing multiple certifications, I still felt a big void, as if something is still missing. And this led me to venture into independent research of individual subjects, where I took up a topic and went deep inside it to understand it in a better manner. Soon, I started writing multiple articles and blogs for various magazines and websites around the country. I authored multiple books and ebooks, delivered talks around the country in various schools, colleges, hospitals, corporates, gyms, defense forces establishments, and venues like TED, Josh Talks, or India International Science Festival. And it was only a couple of years back, post my retirement, that I ventured into the business of fitness. I started my own YouTube channel with the name We Are Stupid and the Genesis online fitness training program, which runs in over 40 countries now. I opened some of the biggest gyms in Delhi, launched multiple products and brands, launched extremely unique fitness and nutrition courses, and the journey continues. So if you actually see my entire journey, it was not something which happened by chance. It was a calculated risk which I took post my retirement but this was also my passion. Now, with over 2 decades of my career in fitness and nutrition, I learned a lot of things. I fell down a lot of times. I got cheated a lot of times. I got defeated a lot of times, but every time I got up and I continued. I can talk about a lot of things related to health and fitness, but in this particular talk, I would limit myself to 5 amazing things which you should keep in mind to have a fit and healthy lifestyle. Number 1, Google is a search engine. It's not the truth engine. In simple terms, whatever you write on Google, it will show you the results of that, irrespective of whether that thing is right or wrong. So if you type on Google that green tea for weight loss, it will show you articles which are generally pseudoscientific articles written mostly by marketing companies to tell you how green tea will help you in losing weight. But scientifically, green tea does nothing for you for weight loss. The problem is most of the people do not know the real science behind things. They do not know the difference. Remember, if you start telling a lie loud enough and long enough, people will eventually start believing it. You know what is the problem with myths? These myths spread like wildfire for the simple reason that they do not require any brains or logic to understand. And once a myth enters your brain, it is very, very difficult for you to take it out. Second point, 6 packs does not mean healthy. Look, every couple of decades, there is a new trend which keeps on coming. For example, if you go back in the 60s, 70s and 80s and observe the actor and actresses of the Indian film industry, you won't find anybody with extremely ripped physiques or extremely muscular body the way they are now. And the reason they are now has nothing to do with acting. It is totally to do with the current demand and trend of the market. For example, in the 70s, the hippie culture was very famous, which is nowhere to be seen today because it was a trend which came and which went. Similarly, the latest trend is to get extremely ripped physiques irrespective of how you get it. And people are using all sort of extreme methods to achieve such a physique. Now, these extreme methods can be in the form of extreme supplements like fat burners or diuretics or even anabolic steroids or using starvation diets or even doing cosmetic changes through surgeries. And among all these, there is nothing which is related to health. There is a big difference between a lean, muscular and healthy physique and a ribbed 6-pack artificial physique. And it is the former which you should be aiming for. Third point, there is nothing called a diet and exercise ratio. For some time now, there is a ratio floating around in the market. According to some people, your diet is 80% important and exercise is 20% important. For some other people, the ratio is 70-30, yet for others it is 60-40. However, whether you talk about human life or you talk about scientific research, there is no such ratio. These ratios are primarily created to gain attraction or for marketing purposes. Because the human body works in balance or homeostasis. And if you want to know the right ratio, the correct ratio is 100% diet, 100% exercise, 100% sleep and 100% stress. If any of these things is mismanaged, then all other things will be affected. Let me give you another example. There are people who are eating extremely healthy, who are exercising regularly and have good sleep patterns also. But they are suffering from multiple stresses in their life. Now the stresses can be in the form of a family stress or work stress or financial stress or environmental stresses. They can be anything. So that is the reason that all these aspects in your life have to be balanced in a particular way. Fourth point, don't turn overnight intolerant. Now this is kind of a funny. Look, there is a difference in what is healthy and what is marketed healthy. When we talk about allergies and sensitivities, they absolutely exist. A lot of people are allergic and sensitive to multiple things, and they should be avoiding those things. But you do not suddenly turn allergic or sensitive to something just because somebody else told you. Just to give you an example, in last couple of years, there's a new trend in the market of gluten intolerance or even lactose intolerance. Now, there are millions of people who are lactose intolerant. In simple terms, they can't digest milk products or can't digest milk products to a certain degree. Similarly, there are people who are suffering from a problem called celiac disease, or they're gluten intolerant, so they can't eat some grains in which you have gluten, for example, wheat. But I have been observing that in today's world, these allergies and sensitivities develop overnight in people for the simple reason that they want to proclaim that they are gluten intolerant because it is in trend. Lot of females, especially whom I meet, they suddenly start telling me they are gluten intolerant. And when I ask them a couple of questions about this intolerance, they have absolutely no answer. And I asked them that when did you develop this intolerance? The answer is yesterday night. So you can be allergic or sensitive to multiple things, but you do not get allergic or sensitive suddenly. And the last point I want to tell you is, methods are many, principles are few. Methods do change, principles never do. Fortunately, for all of us, the basics never change. Just to give you an example, in a particular class, if there are 50 students, they all have the same teacher, the same books, the same syllabus, the same school. Almost all of them have tuitions today. They're also taking these online classes and everything is available with them. But still not everybody is able to score good marks. And the reason is because they're simply not following the basics. And what are the basics here? And the basics are shut up, sit down and study. Similarly, if you want a healthy body, a fit body, the basics are still the same. You need to take care of your diet. You need to exercise regularly. You need to increase your overall movement or physical activity. You need to take care of your sleeping patterns. You need to manage your stress levels. And all these things require patience, perseverance, and discipline. Thank you.